Hey, how's it going, everybody? What's up? Today, there was a little Q&A session on the forums, I guess, and Nikita answered a bunch of questions, so we're going to dive right into it, read all the questions, and see what Nikita has to say. I'm sure there's some interesting stuff in here. Also, guys, if you enjoy videos like this, please make sure to subscribe, like, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'd very much appreciate it. We're trying to hit 100,000 subs before the end of the year. That would be awesome. And with all of that shite being said that you guys love hearing so much, let's get into it and let's have a look at the questions and the answers that we got from Nikita. So someone asked, will there be tasks in the game where you take a more active part in the factions, such as help the rogues defend the water plant or assist one scav gang versus another? Nikita responded with, yes, we have such tasks planned, but I don't know exactly how they will be in game. But something like this is planned for sure. Faction-based tasks and faction reputation and everything. So I'm assuming what Nikita is alluding to here is probably the planned DLC that they have in the future, at least for the scav mode, where there's going to be lots of quests and storylines and stuff based around exclusively your scav, which we don't really have too much information on, but in that, you know, he's talking about rogues here at the water plant and, you know, scav gang versus one another. That's obviously the Scavlands DLC or whatever it's called, or Scav Life DLC, I think it was named. We might end up getting something akin to that, or something that's a part of that DLC that maybe has something to do with rogues as well, which could be really cool, because that could also allude to another part of that pertaining to maybe raiders, maybe scab bosses, where you're going to be on the scab bosses side or the raiders side. So that's interesting to hear. This is going to be a big development. I'm assuming we're going to get maybe after the game is launched. I don't know if we're going to have it before then. Will items being much more difficult to find be a bigger factor in the final release of the game? Nikita said, it will not be much more difficult. We will not change it heavily. I think it'll be something like what we have right now in the game. So that's kind of interesting, because a lot of people are either in one camp or another on this, where some people think that everything's too easily found and money's too easy to make and stuff, whereas some people are like, oh, I've been looking for LEDX for weeks and I can't seem to find them. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is a little bit skewed, because of course all the veteran players know exactly where to find all of the stuff that they need to find, and we do it quickly, we do it efficiently, because we have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in the game. So I think it would be desperately unfair to balance the game around us, which is why in the hideout now we have so many crafts which are pretty much there to help out casual players who maybe don't want to spend a week trying to find a LEDX or like a bunch of defibrillators or other stuff, so they can at least complete the quest lines of the traders up until they're level 42. And then after that, it's just whatever else you can get, you can get. And I think right now the game is probably balanced in a pretty decent way as far as like quest difficulty for, you know, all different branches of players. And the biggest help obviously being the expansion of like a lot of the quest item crafts in the hideout, which is very, very nice. But I think that the loot balancing right now is pretty good. I think it's okay. I would still much rather see a lot of the end game armor be maybe like a little bit harder to get, maybe. But we'll see. We still have quite a few patches before any of this other stuff comes out. And I'm sure there'll be more balancing and there'll be more, you know, changes to the traders and stuff like we see pretty much every single patch. So we'll just have to wait and see. Next question. Players having hundreds of millions of rubles is a factor in the game. Will there be any negative consequences of being very rich as a PMC in Tarkov in the future? So this is like, you know, rich people getting taxed more than others, I guess. Kind of question. Nikita said, we want to make the gameplay cycle which will not give you an ability to be super rich. So we will make more money sinks and everything just to balance this. So when of course, there will be these types of players that just play a lot, like a stupidly big amount of hours, they will definitely want to be rich and everything. So at least this type of player will be a little percentage of the player base. Yeah, that was just pretty much just what I was saying. Like, anybody can make as much money as they want in EFT. But the biggest thing is, you know, time and knowledge is the two biggest factors. Obviously, there's a bit of skill involved there as well, depending on, you know, what map you're playing. But there's a lot of maps that can be very easily farmed, but people don't want to do those for some reason. You know, like woods. Like, make millions of rubles a day on woods super easily, but nobody does it. And the people that do it have hundreds of millions of rubles. But I'm excited to see more money sinks in the game. It's definitely something Tarkov needs for sure. We have the Bitcoin farm, which is one of those money sinks that doesn't really last for the whole wipe. And then we have the scav junk box. You know, sure, if you do moonshine every day, that's a little bit of a money sink. And then, I mean, if you're crafting stuff all the time, like, you're getting a lot of your money back from that. Like, the hideout is the biggest money sink in the game right now. Just actively leveling it up costs a very, very substantial amount of cash be sunk into it to fully level it up. So I'm curious to see what other money sinks they're going to put in the game. All right, next question. Events have been very appreciated by the community. Do you think some of these events will happen automatically in the future? For example, suddenly raiders on factory, scab bosses meeting, etc. Nikita, yes, the automatic system events was planned a long time ago already. I hope we will implement it in the future. Cool. Yeah, I'd love that. Just log in, you know, just like you go in, you accept your dailies, you accept your weeklies, you know, you check fence, like the bulletin board or whatever, and maybe he'll say, oh, we've got some weird stuff going on in woods where, I don't know, Killa and Tagilla are on woods or something, running around naked in the sawmill or something. You know what I mean? Like events like that. It's always fun. So I'd love to see these just automatically thrown in rather than, you know, we have to go to Twitter and read these cryptic messages and stuff, which, you know, that's fun too. But I think it would be cool if there was an in-game system that showed players that, hey, you don't have to have Twitter. Because I know a lot of people have been complaining about that. It's like, oh, well, we don't know these events are coming because it's only if we use Twitter. And a lot of people don't use Twitter. So I would love to see this implemented in a way that it's shown in-game so that everybody can experience. That'd be cool. Next question. Some kind of team objective or global goals is something that has been touched upon previously. Will there be team-oriented tasks that are required to complete as a squad, or global goals that have to be accomplished by the community as a whole? Yes, we have planned these types of events as well. So Nikita did talk about this. He did say that they had some cool stuff planned as far as faction versus faction, all playing together for a reward. And then there was going to be where everybody had to go out and kill X number of scabs or scab bosses and all that kind of stuff for some kind of cool global reward that we would all get, I guess. Well, I'm all down for stuff like that. I would love events like that where everybody gets to participate and people could be like, yeah, I killed this boss 10 times the other day for, you know, Team X or Team Y or whatever, you know what I mean? So that'd be really cool. All right, next question. Many weapons are simulated to behave very much like their real-life counterparts, with things such as trigger weight, trigger delay, recoil, rate of fire, and so on. The Chiappa Rhino requires the user to push the trigger harder versus many pistols, the SV98 as well. Is this something you want to have more of in the game? Detailed simulations of weapon mechanisms. So Nikita responded with, eventually, yes. We want to have these kinds of features, of neat features and details about weapons, especially in terms of mechanics and how you actually operate the weapon, how you shoot and press the trigger with all of these delays and like the nature of recoil and everything. So yeah, we try to add something every time in terms of realism of the gun mechanics and everything. Well, I think, you know, if there's anything that can be said about EFT, pretty much every gun in the game is like insanely immaculately modeled and animated. And even down to, you know, the ejection animations and the, you know, chambering round animations. Even if you take out the mag, you load in one round, you can still do that with like every single gun in the game. And they definitely have the level of detail down, but I guess they're going to expand on that further down the line, which is cool because it'll add, again, a level of immersion, a level of realism, and a slight, you know, alteration to, you know, gameplay mechanics. So if they added stuff like this for every gun, you know, there would be like new reasons why to run X gun over Y gun, or maybe, you know, running a different trigger system on different weapons. As we've seen in pistols, there are some pistols where you can get different triggers for them, and maybe sometime down along the line we'll be able to buy different triggers for, you know, whatever your favorite gun is, and these will all have different varying effects on the gun overall, rather than just like a flat boost to your ergonomics or your recoil reduction or whatever else. So that'd be really cool. Next question. Can you give an example of how a patch goes from plan to release at this point in the development? Given how you've explained that we are getting closer and closer to releasing the game, is there actually room for new ideas in the process now, or is everything decided already? Well, before I read this answer, nothing about game development is set in stone. Things change all the time, so I'm curious to see what Nikita says about this. So the core is already planned and everything is settled, but of course, if it comes to realization of one of the features or another, there's always some kind of room for good ideas and changes. It's not something big that influences a lot or change the future. It is present because there are a lot of small, neat things that we are inventing. An ongoing process of features and finalization even. So it's a pretty common thing. But for the development process, this is not good actually, because it's always better to have something settled with a solid plan and have these types of things. So, oh, let's do this instead when it comes to actual plans, and everybody is in their seats, you know, and they are working on their features, and it's not really a good idea to change the plan, to change the flow. But sometimes we have a conclusion that the idea will be will be better with some additional things. So yeah, usually the process is settled, but sometimes we change it with different kinds of additions. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. So that makes sense. They have a concrete plan for, you know, basically the main basis for EFT. So I would assume that the concrete plan right now would include all of the maps that will be included with the final edition of the game. Maybe you know, there'll be a finite set of weapons that they will have, and then the rest will maybe come with DLC or future updates or something. And then all of the core mechanics. So for example, you know, the healing animations, weapon degradation, armor degradation, weapon repairing, armor repairing, all this other kind of stuff will probably all be locked in. But then, you know, small changes here and there and additional features being added in and subtracted. Things that aren't, you know, directly the core of the game will definitely be changed and can change up for sure from time to time. I feel like I'm answering the question like the dude's asking me, but the questions are for Nikita, but I'm just giving my opinion on the thing. So don't think this is me like answering for Nikita or whatever. I'm just like following up with my own kind of answers, I guess. All right, next question. Following up the previous question, is there any room for ideas from the community, e.g. craft recipes, event ideas, or are you focused on polishing the game? Of course, crafting recipes, event ideas, we're always open for stuff like that. I read the Reddit quite often and see different kinds of ideas. Sometimes I note them down and create a task for it. So yes, at this moment, you can still add something. I mean, community ideas and everything. But I think there will be a moment when there will be an actual polishing of the game. And at that point, we will be locked from any new ideas or stored for future DLCs. So lads, if you have your ideas, throw them out there now because, you know, obviously once they get the game completed, they're going to be moving on to focus on the DLC, I guess, and you know, a lot of ideas are going to be stocked up for that, which is cool. Next question, is there a chance that there will be more varietyness in the game? For example, code generation to gain access to a certain areas on the map. For example, some doors need pin codes that change every raid. Codes need to be found in the codes need to be found in raid. Oh, that's kind of a cool idea. It's possible the whole feature related to the code panels is still at the first iteration. Oh, that's actually really cool. Just the code panels and the cards. We also have modeled a number pad, so you need to enter actual codes. And these codes will be obtainable in the raid, or it could be cracked and in the hideout too. So yes, we have things planned, but I do not know exactly, I'm assuming, what we'll implement in the game. Damn, that's really cool. And then the final question, are you planning to introduce Voip radio so teammates in the same raid can communicate in a private voice channel, even if they are on different sides of the map? There will be radio sets. You will be able to use these radio sets with Voip, but on the radio. So yes, it is planned. Yeah, which we already knew from before. We've been told that a couple of times before, even throughout the entire process of development for like way before we had Voip. They actually, I could be wrong about this because it's been a while, but I think initially Voip was only going to work with radios. But now they've obviously made it so that you can just Voip and it's proximity based. Lads, there you have it. That was the Q&A with Nikita. Interesting stuff. I liked it. Very good. Very good. So, guys, any more updates in the future, I will let you guys know in a YouTube video if it's long enough to throw in a vid. If not, then I'll throw it in a tweet. Go follow my Twitter. Twitter.com. Link in the description. Subscribe, like, twitch.tv/tweak, Instagram, all that TikTok crap, all listed down below. Make sure to go follow it all. I'd appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out, my friends.